Olá, welcome. Bem-vindo to Yarn Stories with Olivia, ou Contos de Fio com Olivia. This is episode 8 of my little channel here on YouTube, where I talk about my knitting and my crocheting and any other yarn adventure that comes my way. Today is July 28th, 2024. For those of you that are joining me back here, thank you. For those of you that have found me for the first time, welcome in. I'm going to be talking about a knitted finished item, a knitted crochet item, some items from the archives that I've touched on in the past, but now I'll go into more detail on them. I have something on my radar that I'm going to be working on. I've got a work in progress that is just about finished. Well, not really finished, but it's at the easy part now, which just knit, and it should be done by the next episode. But I wanted to share my progress on that one with you because it was featured in the last episode. And I also want to talk about a surprise prize I got from participating in a hashtag on Instagram. And I also do have an announcement on the winner of the prize or the gift away that I posted on my last episode. I did have enough comments, and I did learn how to use the random comment generator. I did get a name that I'll be announcing shortly who the winner is. And I think it's pretty much all the admin-y things. Everything else will probably come up as I start talking about what I'm wearing, what I'm making, what I've made. And I'll, as everybody says, I will post in the description box below all of the links to anything that I talk about. When I start to review this back, I'll make sure that if I forgot to add something or I didn't say, I will also somehow put a little bar of information here so that you can see what I've left out. So anyway, welcome in. Let's start. It is, well, let's talk about the elephant in the room, shall we? It is the Pier 39 top that I spoke about in the last episode, and it's finished. It is the new pattern by Isabell Kraemer. It's the Pier 39. I was very pleasantly surprised to be chosen to do the test knit for this top, and I absolutely loved participating in this test knit. It was the first time I've been brave enough to submit a request to be considered a test knitter. And I was brave in doing it because I had just met Isabell Kraemer at the Yarn Festival in Porto, which I talk about in the last episode. So I felt like I had a connection to her from having met her. And I did put on the test knit application that I was going to use some of the yarn that I had bought there at the festival. And I did. So, oh, here it is. And it was fun. It was fun to work on, but it took a lot of my knitting time. It was a short deadline. It was July 1st. I cast it on July 1st. It had to be completed by July 24th. I finished it on the 19th, got it blocked, ready to be worn, and posted on Ravelry and on Instagram in time for it to be before the deadline. So I'm going to post a little video here of me wearing it to work, so I don't stand up here and get out of frame and then have to sit back down. And so I wore it to work as I usually do most of my knit tops. I wore it with a black sundress, and it was just the perfect garment to wear over a solid sundress. It's going to be great too in the winter over with slacks and a sweater. It is I knit a size 4, and I had said that I could knit a size 4 or a size 5. Isabell's patterns, I've done her patterns before, and I have found that I'm within the 4 or 5 range. And so I felt that I could do either or. So I was selected for size 4 because the 5, I believe, was already full. And I did have to go up a needle size to get to a comfortable gauge for me. And it worked. It's It felt a little snug the first time I put it on to take photos, which it's my Ravelry photo. It's also my well, I put a different photo on Instagram, but there's a picture on Ravelry, which Isabel has also used for her project page. And when I wore it the following day with a dress to work, it just loosened up more and it just got more and more comfortable. And it just, as with all yarn, the more you wear it, the warmth of wearing your body heat as it warms up, it starts to drape even better on you as you're wearing it. I absolutely love this. I highly, highly, highly recommend this pattern. I recommend all of her patterns. I find them so easy to knit. And this one is perfect for either the solid color. If you go to pattern, it's the solid color with some micro stripes. Some of the testers did larger stripes. This is even the sort of top that if you want to do just in one solid color, it's going to look beautiful as a solid color. It's a saddle shoulder construction, which is the first time I've done raglan, but I've never done saddle shoulder. And I wasn't sure how it had worked out because before blocking, the stitches didn't look as crisp and clean, but after blocking, of course, it all fell into place. And then there's this little cap sleeve that is done with short rows, and then the knit by one rib, but it's twisted knit by one rib, which is one of my favorite finishing for. I've done it on socks, and I like it on sleeves as well, or hems. So that's what it has. The hem is also the same thing. Yeah, and it's just, and I've talked about it before, where some of my concern every time I knit tops is that I get too much here. I've got somewhat narrower shoulders than the rest of my body. And I tend to always cast on for the bust size because I need that. And what happens is then the next size it gets too big. And because it gets too big up here, I end up with a lot of fabric at the arm. So I'm working with that. I'm working on learning that I can go ahead and cast. For example, if I had cast a size 4, then I could have done the bust as a size 5 and just kept going. Since it was a test knit and we were asked to not make modifications, I did stick to the plan, and I'm happy I did because it came out perfect. And anyway, just another win for me. Her patterns. What I've got left in this yarn is of the 2 skeins that I use, this is what I have left. And I would add this to the hem to make it just slightly longer, but I have 1 full skein left of this. I am going to save for another project because this yarn is absolutely gorgeous. I didn't bring the tag up, but it is El Robledad yarn. It's a Spanish yarn. Again, the details are on my Ravelry page, on my Instagram, as well as on the Ravelry page, how much yarn I used, what yarn it is. And for the micro stripes, I used, this is what I've got left, I used 15%, 15 grams. I was going to say percent because, you know, I've been working on percentages at work. 15 grams I used for the micro stripes. I still have all of this, and I've got a full skein of the yarn, as well as the little gauge swatch if I need it. This is the Felici Punto yarn, which is a silk merino, silk linen, lino, it's linen. And this is going to go into my future projects radar, which I'll talk about in a minute. So that's the story with this one. Highly recommend. Go and get yourself a pattern. I want to say there's still a sale. I know that there was a sale. Isabel was running a sale on her top. So if we didn't get it, I'm sorry I'm mentioning it now, but I did take the opportunity to buy another 4 of her patterns to add to my library. So Pier 39, a win, make a win for testing. Now I want to test all of her tops, but I got to be a little real. I know I don't have the time to do them all. She has a new one going on now, the Alhambra sweater, which is gorgeous too. But I had to skip on that one, so next time around. So anyway, let's see if I can get through this without saying so many so's. Being so careful not to do and I hear myself back, and it's so. Hey, have a drink every time I say so. Okay, let's do okay instead, all right? Okay. I can't win. Let's see, what's next? So, goodness gracious. New finished object, or shall I say, new to the collection. So this is new to the collection. A new to the collection item that just came into my radar. Wednesday night or Thursday night, I was watching the podcast Mais. Mariana is the host of that podcast, and she was talking about the emotional support chicken and how it was such a hit at the Knit with Friends festival. There had been just one chicken in attendance. She has decided that she's going to make 4 chickens. Actually, she's going to make 3 chickens and 1 rooster, because she has 3 teenage daughters, and her partner deserves a rooster, a support rooster, because with 3 teenage daughters, he deserves a support rooster. I thought that was fantastic. The rooster in Portuguese is galo. The chicken is galinha. So she's making her 3 galinhas, and she's going to make a galo. And I can't wait to see her galo, because when she makes her rooster, I want to make one too. Anyway, Mariana is fantastic. I love her podcasts. And she talked about all of this. I had a good laugh with her, but at the end she showed something that I had to make it. Looked it up on Ravelry, and there it was. It's a free pattern. So it is right over here, keeping me company. Actually, like right here, it's keeping me company. And it is, let me show you this. In Portuguese, she said it was a batata positiva. Batata is Portuguese for potato. So this is a positive potato. Look at how cute this little guy is. I am just obsessed. I want to make 100 of these and pass them out to everybody who needs a little positivity in their life. Mr. Positive Potato. It is my first amigurumi project. I've never ever dabbled in anything that was a stuffed toy with the eyes and the embroidery for the mouth. I've always felt like it's going to take too much time and the sewing in. But this thing, I did this little guy in an hour and a half this morning. What took the longest was actually writing the message on the card to make it fit within the size of the card. As you can see, he's got his little arms holding up the card. Yeah, he may be a tiny potato, but he believes in you. Go and do your thing. So this pattern is, as I said, it's free on Ravelry. It's been there for a while. I don't know why it hasn't been seen. It is the Positive Potato. And I'm going to put my little Paulinho here. I'm going to call him Paulo, the Positive Potato. And it is by Munchi 8175 on Ravelry. And I'll have the link below. It is a free pattern. But I encourage everyone to make a little positive potato. It is a quick crochet project. I went into my stash downstairs. I have tons of miscellaneous wool or acrylic. I think this is a wool. And grabbed it, and I had, I used the G hook, which is I did a 4mm, it's a G 4mm hook with this yarn, and since I'm a crafter, most of you must be crafters, so you know you got a little stash of crafting supplies hidden everywhere. It took me a little bit of time, but I did find a couple little pouches of fiberfill that I had recycled from a project that come with it, and I didn't know if I was going to use it again, but because it was packed like this, I just kept it. So I used one of these pouches. I had two of them. I used one of these pouches to fill them, and I also had just a little bag with the eyes, little clippy eyes. So I don't know when I got these, I mean, they were at the bottom of the craft basket, but I found them. Something in my mind said, I think you've got a pair of those eyes. I was thrilled with that project because I got to use scrap yarn projects that ended up in the bottom of the scrap basket for projects for future day. And my little guy is so cute. I'm definitely going to make another one tonight. I'm going to make them in different colors. I didn't stuff them as much as I should have. The next one will have a little bit more. I've got a lot of the little itty bits of yarn that's left over, and from skeining up, or I should say from balling up the skeins. So I've got plenty of yarn to use for my future projects, and I'll stuff them up a little bit more. But tell me that's not the cutest little thing. I think the next one I want to try to make a little hat. These are a little hat. So speaking of hats, we'll move on to the next thing that I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about the hats that I crochet. There you go, Pauline, you can stay right there. I've talked about it before, where I do a lot of crochet beanies that I donate for charity, or I make, and during the winter I leave in a box at the library for those that might need a hat. They can just help themselves to a hat. I've been doing this for years, so this is old news to some of you that have already watched me and have heard this story. I wanted to talk about it today because I've just updated my Ravelry page, and I just moved it up to the top of the queue, or the top of the list, I should say. For those of you who might want to make these hats, I've got it there. I didn't write up a pattern for them. It's a basic crochet beanie hat. There's tons of patterns on Ravelry and tons of patterns that you can find on YouTube, or tutorials on YouTube how to do it. But I was going to speak to how I make them and a little bit of the story behind them, because I was asked about the hats, and every time I say I'm not going to make anymore, I'm asked to make more. So I'm going to use this opportunity here to talk a little bit about it. If some of you don't want to hear this again, just fast forward. For those of you who haven't heard it yet, I'm going to talk about what I refer to as the Oli Beanie. And I'll insert a picture here of the original Oli Beanie. The Oli Beanie, it was a hat that I made for my mom, I want to say in 2013. She had asked me to make her a hat because I was always making something, and she wanted specifically a hat in black or brown. Those were her favorite colors, and I won't say she had a small head, but you know, it was hard to find a hat that would fit her because she did have a small head. And so I made this hat to her measurements, and it fit her perfectly. It had a fabric flower on it that I had found from a sewing shop nearby. Actually, it's a haberdashery shop that is close by. It's KG Crafts in Fall River. She sells fabrics, scrapbook supplies, yarn, ceramics, you name it. You go into her store, she's got a little bit of everything. But she was selling these ribbons of these fabric flowers. I bought tons of them, and it was in my mother's favorite checkered print. She loved houndstooth fabric. So when I found the flowers, I knew exactly what kind of hats I was going to make for her, so I did. And she loved the hats. Everybody saw the hats, loved the hats. So I made more, and I made more, and I made more. I had friends reach out to me that they were doing fundraisers. Could I make hats? I sent 70 of the hats to somebody who did a fundraiser for muscular dystrophy. And I continued. And the hat that I'm talking about, so I don't have the original hat. Like I said, I put the picture of the original Oli Beanie. I no longer have any of those flowers. Use them all up. Now I'm making my own flowers. So this is what I'm talking about. So I am talking about this hat, which I call the Oli Beanie, right? And on my Instagram, I posted it recently. So it's your basic crochet hat. It's it's double crochet. And I start with a magic ring. And I use the H hook. And this is the same, I use the same hook for whatever yarn it's going to be. So this is the formula I've come up with, or I should say the recipe I've come up with for these hats. So I start with the 10 double crochets, increase to 20, increase to 30, to 40, to 50, 60, to 70. Once I get to 70, I stop increasing, and then I just double crochet to row 13. At row 13, going on to row 14, I do a half double crochet of a different color, whatever color you choose to use. And then row 15, I go back to double crochet, but I do back loop only, so that you get this little raised edge effect here. And then I finish up with another 2 rows of double crochet, and I finish with 2 rows of single crochet. And so it makes this perfect size beanie that fits teenagers, adults, and depending on the yarn that you use, the hat will be bigger. So what I do is I make multiples in different yarns, and then if somebody wants a hat, I say, well, try this yarn, because I know this yarn, the recipe made the hat come out bigger, even though it's always the same amount of stitches. So in order to embellish it, and because I'm a little OCD, I used to place the flowers where it was, nice, soft, because the flower should be worn like either on this side or this side, because it's a cloche type hat. But then some of the people that I gifted the hats to, they were wearing it so that the seam would be right in the middle. By that I mean the seam as you join. When you join, there's a seam. No matter how you do it, there's going to be a seam. I mean, I think mine is sort of invisible, but I could still see it. And I just thought, well, geez, they're wearing it with the seam right in the thing. They really should have the seam to the back or the side. So I started to put the flower right on the seam. That way, they know that the flower goes at the temple of the side. So the front, I don't see the seam. The seam isn't there. And the flower that I use now is, it's just a crochet flower that I make with the yarn that goes on the brim. It's 2 rows of petals, and I use a button that's in my mother's button box. This is still buttons that I'm using that she had saved. My mother saved all the buttons from, I think it's a thing of her generation. You don't throw any button out if you do discard an item, or if it comes extra buttons in a something you bought at the store. So that's what the story is. So these flowers, again, I'm going to link everything. There's a YouTube tutorial on how to do these flowers. This flower, it's done by, it's Keep Calm and Crochet. She teaches the tutorial. She actually does it with 3 rows of petals, but I think 2 works for these hats. So I want to mess up my hair, but I'm going to give it a try. So it ends up being just this perfect size cloche. As you can see, doesn't exactly match. Oh, wait a minute. I could have used the other one. So it is a perfect, it's right over the ears for somebody, especially somebody with their long hair. It's just a perfect little hat. And now I think I'm gonna, oh, not bad. So that's this one. So the one, I guess the one I should have showed you was, so here's another one, another similar idea. I marled this one. This one is made with, I have just this yarn that I don't know where I got this yarn, and I had this one. So I put the 2 together, and I made the hat, and I decided to do the flower in this one. As you can see, it's the same thing. I've got, well, I can see the seam. And another one of my mother's buttons, and there's the flower. And so this is the one that I should have put on, because this matches. This matches my top. So, whoops. I should put this one on a little bit more to the front here. So as you can see, it becomes a perfect beanie. You just look. And because this yarn is already a little different than that one, it just feels different. let me just see if I can get, maybe if I do this correctly, I'll end up with a nice, YouTube will give me a nice, what do you call it, thumbnail? Maybe YouTube will give me a nice thumbnail here with this. Let me see, let me hold a little. So anyway, that's the story with my hats. I just fix myself up here. So the reason I wanted to tell you about this, I brought a bunch to show you, so I've done it. This is Vanna White yarn. I have this kind of yarn as well that I don't know how to, but see, I've got a little bit of yarn. I find a corresponding color. Actually, that was the wrong one. Actually, this one is this one. This is Encore. This is Encore Chunky Wool. That's what this purple is. And then this little studio samples. It was from AC Moore at the time. They had these samples. And so I'm still waiting to find a flower so that you can see what the flower looks like without the button. And then because I want to use up all the yarn, this purple yarn that I was showing you before is this Martha Stewart Crafts. It is it's an acrylic, yeah, it's an acrylic, wait, where did I see it? It's a soft wool blend, acrylic and wool. And again, I don't want to waste any of the yarn, so this is what I did. For this one, I didn't have enough of the purple to do another beanie. Here's my seam. So I did it, I just alternated the colors, and because I had enough of this left over, I did the stripes. So sometimes somebody might not want a hat with a flower. This is what I do. Now, what I do with these is I participate in scholarship fairs in my area in the month of November at my local high schools. And I do it because the first year I did it, after doing that half of my mom, the high school my son went to, they were running a scholarship fair. They asked if anybody wanted to be a vendor at the fair. I signed up because I figured I had all these hats, and it was for a scholarship for his school. I did it. It was in 2013 was the first time I did it. And I priced my hats at $15, and I ended up selling just about all the hats. And it was almost $600 from the craft show, which I then donated some to the schools, some to the local animal shelter, and I kept some so that I could go and buy more yarn with it. And that's what started it for me. I said, well, you know, this worked. It gave me a great outlet to create something to pass on to someone. I could do it as a fundraiser for the school. I could do it as a fundraiser for my local animal shelter. I support the shelter where I adopted Gary from, with not just treats and food and litter. I also do support financially. But when I do the craft shows, anything that I sell that is purple is 100% for the shelter, because their logo is purple. It's just the color of their logo. So it's sort of like those that already come to the craft shows to find my table already know that if I have anything in purple, it's to support CARE, which is the Center for Animal Rescue here on the south coast of Massachusetts. And yeah, so that's the story with the Oli beanies. I'm talking about it now because I'm in the midst of making a lot of them, because the craft show applications have arrived. I'm signed up for 4 in November, so I'll be on hat duty for a while, interspersed with my own creative makes. So the recipe is on Ravelry. If any of you want more information on how I make the hats, feel free to reach out. But they're a great stash buster. They're a great use of yarn. That's the same size hat that I also do chemos for cap, that I forgot to mention that in the beginning. Some of the ones that I had done was also to send off. And I used Red Heart Super Soft or Karen soft yarn. Those are real good yarn for somebody that might be losing their hair. And the size of these hats, being such a cloche feel, work really well for somebody that might not have too much hair. So if you're looking for a project to do as a charity crochet, feel free to go on my Ravelry page, make the notes, or reach out to me, and I'll gladly give you more information if I haven't already overshared that. So that's a little bit of archives, a little bit of story time, And yeah, I'll end up with that there. Next up, I have is, we talked about the potato, we talked about, so I'm going to talk about the whip, and then we'll talk about the prize winner, and I want to talk about what's on my radar to work on next. And I do not have any new acquisitions or nothing to be cataloged because I kind of went a little over with the trip. And so I, yesterday I spent some time at Skein yarn shop in Rhode Island. East Greenwich, Rhode Island is a favorite shop of mine. They were hosting a trunk show for Le Garçon yarn. Max and Vincent were there. Kevin and Ray from Needles at the Ready were there as well. And I got the opportunity to sit and knit with them for a while and chit chat in person. We have known each other for several years through going to local yarn shops. And it was great to spend some time with them, real time with them, because, you know, if you watch them, you're spending time with them knitting, and they are exactly as you see on the podcasts. Their personality and their banter between each other is exactly what you see. So in that one, and I didn't bring it with me. It's downstairs to get a little refresh. I wore the Derecho top, which was made with Barocco Remix light, and that was another great project. I should have planned better, and I would have had it here, but I'll talk about it at another time. But I used that top yesterday because it was with yarn that I purchased from Skein. It was a pattern that I was inspired to make by seeing the top on display at Skein. I felt like I should wear it yesterday, and it was beautiful. I wore it from the morning to be at the yarn shop, to going to an afternoon graduation party, to changing into dressy slacks and wearing it for a birthday night dinner. Wore the top until midnight and felt just as comfortable in the morning when it was warm and cool enough with it, to being warm enough with it in the late summer evening. That's another great pattern that, if you haven't already made one, you should look into getting that pattern. But with that in mind, I'll talk about the whip that I've got going, because the yarn that I'm using is very similar to the Derecho light. And as I was knitting on it yesterday, I kept thinking how similar it was. This is a project that I've got in my bag that I was gifted from Du Courtesan Atelier, Manuela. And this has been my work bag. I take it with me every day. It's perfect for the sweater that I'm working on. And now all of a sudden it's got my sunglasses in it. It's got my tissues, my mints. It's, you know, if I could fit my lunch in here, it would go in here too, but I've stopped at that. This is the, so let me show you. I showed a little bit of it at the last podcast. I am working on another Isabell Kraemer top. It is the Yume. And I am using Elizabeth Lavold Silky Wool. In the color, so it's color, I should say it's color 9, which is verdigris. And if you recall, if you were here, if you've been here with me for a while, one of my episodes I talked about getting this yarn from my local charity shop that I split with another lady that had seen it there. So I had 6 skeins of it, and it was enough to do the top. And I did realize that they were 2 different dye lots, and I had a plan in mind for how I was going to deal with it. I wasn't exactly going to do helical knitting because it's a solid color. So in my mind, I thought, well, it'll work. I will do every other ball, and then I'll do like micro striping with the yarn so it would look intentional. And of course I forgot. Halfway through it, I forgot. So I should say, and I decided to go short sleeves because I'm so into summer tees right now. So I did the short sleeves, which is the, again, it's a knit purl one, purl one, but it's the twisted knit. And I can see on here the color pulling. I don't know if you can see it. I can see it. But I'm gonna just let it go because now, of course, you know, it's too late. For the bottom, now I am alternating, and it is, once I split for the sleeves, when I realize that now I can't see the difference here at the bottom, I'm just gonna leave it. And the reason why is because I had cast this on as a size 5, and I tried it on just before I split for sleeves, and I found the neck to be too wide at the size 5. So I played around with the idea of just ignoring it and just starting to not do one of the last increases so it wouldn't be too big at the arms. So it wouldn't be, you know, flaring up too much over here. And the more I looked at it, I know I was always going to be thinking I didn't do it correctly to the way I liked it. So I reknit the whole thing, and I'll put a picture here. This is why I don't have much to show you, because between the test knit and this one and the hats, there's not that much creativity going on in this episode except for Paulinho the potato. So I reknit the whole thing, and I'm so glad I did, because now it is a much better fit at the neck, and I have tried it on, and it's a good fit at the arms. And so now I'm just on the straight knit now to the bottom. And as I said, I am alternating the skeins. So now I've got another one here to roll. They're a little different, so I'll alternate each row. And I should have this one done by the next episode. But it is a very similar yarn to the Remix Light. It feels just as light. Yeah, if you can see from the light, again, it's my window here, not ring lights, but completely forgot to, oh well, I want to call it my design element. You know, there's an old Native American proverb or saying that every creative piece should have a mistake in it to let all of the bad energy out of it, or that's what I'm gonna think about with this one, is that it's just, you need to have at least somewhere in each project a little purposeful mistake. So the Yume by Isabell Kraemer, another great easy pattern. The rolled collar at the top makes it easy, just like this one. You do this collar and then you go right into the knitting the pattern. It doesn't take much before you start to see your results of the pattern work. The lace work goes up super fast, and before you know it, you'll be splitting for sleeves and onto the knit. All right. So pause a couple of times there to see if I get a good thumbnail, because that is the hardest thing for me, is always the thumbnail. Like, what can I put here that's going to inspire someone to click to watch and hopefully like and subscribe, which hopefully if you're not a subscriber yet, you will subscribe and you are going to like. And if you are able to leave me a comment, I absolutely love like reading the comments, and I do reply, and I've learned so much about all of you as you leave your comments, letting me know a little bit about you. And the channel is still so small that I am very comfortable responding to comments. It's not like I'm getting bombarded with comments, which, speaking of which, I had several comments on the last episode, 20 of which had the prompt word vacation. So I use that word for the random comment generator picker. I said that right. That's a lot of words. And I did get a winner. So let me show you what I am talking about for those of you that didn't come in for the last episode or didn't watch the last episode. I was doing a prize giveaway. It was supposed to be for the 500th subscribers that ended up rolling until I got to the 700 subscribers, and I was doing a giveaway or gift away of this project bag, which is a good size bag for hats, socks, or even a top. I have one that I use quite a bit that's gone with me on vacation. Here's the red one, and along with it, it was this DK weight yarn in red to match it, and it is a yarn that I picked up in Porto, Portugal, from Lopo Xavier yarn shop in Porto, and it is the Phoebus weight yarn, and it is hand dyed specifically for their shop. This is yarn that specifically their shop brand. So this was the prize, and I didn't want to do it live on here because I wasn't sure I would know how to do it next time. Now I know how easy it is to do, but I didn't want to redo it in case another name came through, because I felt like, this is the name that came up. So the winner is, for this, it is Rosemary. Oh, so you can see my windows. There we go. It is Rosemary. Yeah. C9093. Sorry about that. It was a lot of numbers that I already forgotten. So it was your name that came up when I did this, the word, the keyword that I had posted. And yeah, so congratulations, Rosemary. I know you've been with me for a few episodes, so I was thrilled to see your name pop up because I recognized it right away, because you have commented, and you've, like I said, you've posted a comment on several episodes, so it was familiar. And so if I'm going to say this right, you have to be subscribed to the channel, which you are, and I am not going to reach out to you now. At this point, you watch this episode, now you reach out to me. You can send me a message either on Ravelry or on Instagram, or email me. I believe I've got, yes, I'm pretty sure I've got my email on this channel as well. However you want to reach out to me, let me know what your mailing address is, where you are, because I'm not sure where you are, if you're even in the States, if you're in Canada. I didn't see it listed on your channel, so I don't know where you are, so let me know. And if the yarn fell. I always have to bend down at least once, and I'll get this sent out to you. So thank you for playing along, and thank you for those of you that took the time to tell me about your dream vacation, the vacations you've gone on. I loved reading them. I loved hearing from you what your special trips are and what you hope to do. And I hope to continue this conversation with you all as I do these episodes. The next episode that I'm going to do may not be here. I'll try to upload another episode if I get this Yume done and if I have any more creative content to show you before we're off away on vacation. And if I don't upload, I'm going to try to do the episode, if I can do this correctly and pack everything and do it right. I might record from where I am in the world, which won't be any surprise to those of you that have been watching me for a while. I'll be back in Portugal, but it will be in the Azores. As I've mentioned before, that's where I'm originally from. I'm from the island of São Miguel. I was born in the city of Ribeira Grande. My husband is also from the island of São Miguel. He was born in São Roque, right outside, well, actually, he always says he was born in Ponta Delgada because the hospital was in Ponta Delgada, which is the capital of the island. We did not meet there. We met here in the U.S. at our high school, where he was a senior, I was a junior when I met him. And so we've got very similar backgrounds. And we go back and spend time on the island. We don't have any family left on the island. Both sides of us, our family, are all here in the United States now. So we really enjoy going back as tourists. And that's where we'll be. We'll be there for 2 weeks. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it because there's a couple of new yarn shops that I've opened up on the island. And one of them does do knit-ins. So I might spend some time at the yarn shop. Who knows? Anyway, congratulations, Rosemary. Oh, that's the gift away. And I think most of you have heard, I've got a little channel. If you've been watching bigger channels, just don't, if there's bots out there, I don't think the bots are going to find me. My channel's too small. There's nobody watching my channel to see. So there shouldn't be anybody reaching out to you saying, give me your personal information. Last thing before I wrap this up is I wanted to talk about my surprise win. So I participate in a lot of hashtag initiatives on Instagram. I love Instagram. Love to see the makes it on there. Love to be inspired by what's on there. And I always throw in my hat into it. I put the hashtag to, who knows, never know. Well, this time I participated in the Spring Shawl Along, which was being hosted by Fran of Franny Do Makes podcast. And I'm sitting there one night and I'm knitting, just keeping company with her. And all of a sudden she mentions, and the winner is Olivia 30M. I just, what? What did she just say? And of course she put my name on the bottom. So I won the prize for the, what I have on Ravelry, or what I put on Instagram as the Volta shawl, which was the black and white shawl that I knit for my trip. And I put Volta because that's Portuguese for return. It was the shawl that I was going to use on my return trip home, hence the Volta shawl. But that's not the name of the pattern. It is the Magic Ring Shawl. Again, all of that is in Ravelry, Instagram, down below. And this is what I won. And I was so thrilled because I won this beautiful, and I dropped it again. I won this beautiful skein of yarn from Blue Fern Yarns. It's a sock set. Came with a little strawberry stitch marker. The color is Chrysanthemum. It's a classic sock. It's a 75-25 merino. And it came with a yarn cozy. And excuse me one second. Here I go again. This is what I dropped. The cutest little needle stoppers. Strawberries. They're so cute. These have now become my favorite thing. I've got so many needle stoppers that I've had for years, different products, but these are just so much fun now to collect all of these different types. So this is the winnings. And I don't know if it ended up on the cutting room floor or the last episode. I'm not a big fan of pink. I don't have any pink yarn, but this is absolutely gorgeous. I may just now be a convert to pink yarn, and I already have a pattern in mind for this, which is Nancy Wheeler's Knit Sip Happy Titty Gaga, which is a sock pattern that she has that I've purchased. Actually, she has two patterns that I think would work well with this yarn, is Titty Gaga and Tits Up Sock. And if you want to know why those are called that, you have to go watch her podcast. She'll explain to you. So it's Nancy of Knit Sip Happy. She is a Canadian podcaster and a sock designer. Also on Ravelry, all her patterns are there. So I think that's what is going to be on my radar for these. And my last project on the radar, or future knitting, or inspiration knitting, or however you want to call it, is going to be, I want to use this yarn, as I mentioned, because I felt really good that I used this yarn before it ended up in a box. Most of my boxes where I keep all of my yarn, every time I acquire more yarn, it goes on top and it goes on top and it goes on top. So the yarn goes to the bottom. And I'm talking to you, I'm looking around my bedroom. I'm in my bedroom. I've got a hamper right here that is not a hamper for clothes. This is a hamper that is full to the top with yarn. I don't remember what's on the bottom. I remember that what's on top is some Cascade 220 because I can see it if I open the lid. I don't know what's on the bottom. But anyway, I've got boxes over there. I got all of these here. And so I felt good that I did this before it disappeared into one of the boxes. I'm going to use this. I want to do another ranunculus. I had done one in 2023, which I wore to, I wore to Rhinebeck. But I'd made it too large. It came out too large. But I still wore it. It was fall. I wore a sweater underneath it. It worked. And then I made a t-shirt version, which I gifted to my sister-in-law in 2 sizes smaller. And I think I'm going to do this one at the size in the middle, which will fit me perfectly. And I've been wanting to do one in the loose gauge to wear over top. So I think this is going to work out really well for a ranunculus. So stay tuned on this one, because all of the whips that I showed you last time and the last time and the last time are still all in the basket. Although I might work on the cowl on the airplane. I might get some of that done. The whip pile is not moving, but more cast-ons. But I'm feeling accomplished. I finished the test knit. The Yume is going to get finished. I got Polly Potato. I should say Paulinho is, little Paul. It's how we say it in Portuguese. We put inho at the end of the names to mean they're small. Like my sister's name is Paula, and even though she's already in her 50s, I still call her Paulinha. It's just, it doesn't go away. Anyway, so little Paulinho and I will say goodbye for now. And we wish you a great next few weeks enjoying the summer if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. For those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, hopefully winter is just about over for you. I just want to thank you again for being here with me, listening to me go on and on about my hat making. And I really do appreciate your time. Click like, subscribe, let friends know about my channel. I would just like to see it grow a little bit more. But if it doesn't, it's okay, because I already have such a great recording of my makes, and I myself and my boys are enjoying watching it back. And even some of my family, I'm starting to have courage to let them know I'm doing this. I do have some friends that will say, "Oh, Olivia's got a podcast," and I'm like, "No, they won't know. They don't need to know. They have no idea what that's about." Anyway, I'm trying to become more confident with this little creative outlet that I've put myself on this journey. Now, I'm not embarrassed to talk about libraries. I'm not embarrassed to talk in front of city council, mayors, politicians, the governor, but something about letting people know I've got this channel. People in my professional circle, it really makes me uncomfortable. Which I should say, when I'm doing those school scholarship shows, if I see somebody I know from work, from my professional field, I do tend to hide behind the mannequin or something, because I just don't want them to know that I've got that little side hustle. Because, people might look at you strange and say, like, although I should be proud of what I'm doing, because I'm doing it for a good cause, not only just the donations and the support of the shelter, but for my own mental well-being. I really, really need to do something creatively with my hands. I really need to decompress my workday by working on something in my hands, whether it's knit or crochet. So it's actually for a good cause, but all around. Anyway, I'm going to stop right there. Way too much talking. So thank you again for sitting with me here and watching and listening to me. I really appreciate your time. So until next time, até a próxima. Thank you for watching. Obrigada.